how is that possible to be friends, run business, have such different backgrounds and have one vision?
She didn't even know my name. I said, hey, can you manage my band?
And the business idea came together at the same time.
I was talking about beautiful new worlds and how we're going to create them. And then Fabian was like, no, I want to touch people's hearts. Like, okay, that's a good vision to go with.
Did you have time when you wanted to break the business?
She's all happy, her usual happy and joyful, shiny self. And I was like, hey, I think we need to close the company.
So when I look at those challenges which come, I always think like, no, it's normal, right? It's like we're a business, right?
I want to also, I think, dedicate this episode to my ex-business partner because I miss our great time together. Hi guys, welcome to my new episode, Brands Through Stories, podcast about people behind successful brands, brands that have a positive impact on this planet. You probably heard my story from the previous episodes that I lost my business partner after 10 years of building business together. I've lost him during difficult times, 2020, when the whole world was going into crisis. The same with our agency. Well, that was a very difficult time for me. Of course, I was reborn since then. I've rebuilt the company from scratch, made me stronger. But the topic of partnership is still very sensitive to me. And that's why when I met half a year ago, these two incredible people who are friends and also business partners for a long time, have completely different backgrounds, speak different languages, but have one vision to touch people's hearts through what they do. It fascinated me. And I invited them today to my podcast to discuss, is there truly partnership when there are two people, two friends, start business together? And because I still believe that partnership is something that we need, and especially positive partnership where we all have one vision. If you like this episode, I would really appreciate if you could please subscribe and also leave your comments. How do you feel about partnerships? Is it possible to have a successful business run by friends? And welcome, please, my two guests, Elena and Fabian, the owners of Breakthrough, the company that creates new world that touches people's hearts. Thank you very much, guys, for joining me. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
It's like I want to clap after you're listening here to the intro.
This was like the longest introduction I had. I want to ask you, first question, of course. So you've been friends for 11 years, right? Mm-hmm. And then you've been running business for 9 years in Dubai.
That's right. Yeah.
Business that you work across Middle East.
That's right.
How is that possible? First of all, how did you meet? And then how is that possible to be friends, run business, have such different backgrounds and have one vision?
Well, it's actually interesting because we met in our last assignment. We went to different departments. And I had a band back then, and I was looking for a band manager. And Elena happened to just join the company. I apart from her name, I didn't know anything about her. But I just felt she had something about her, and I went up to her. She didn't even know my name. I said, hey, can you manage my band? It all started that way. And right. I think so that, we became friends. And when we wanted to start a business, we could not think of anyone else to go with.
Just together.
Yeah. It's...
And the business idea came together at the same time, or was it the opportunity you wanted to grab?
The business idea was quite interesting. We were at a Guns N' Roses concert. Oh. And, the singer always comes late. So we were standing down there waiting for Guns N' Roses to show up on stage. And then I told Elena, I was like, hey, we could do something like this. It started from there. And we were like, okay, let's enjoy the concert. And let's start a company straight after.
Oh, that's
it's funny.
That's how powerful the concert was.
Exactly.
And it's true, exactly a year after, because the concert was, I believe, 27th of March 2013, and then 27th of March 2014, we had our first event happen. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit, maybe about your company and the vision.
The company and the vision, we create beautiful new worlds by touching people's hearts. And how we do it, we have our own entertainment productions where we work with government clients, we work with corporate clients, creating brand new shows for them whenever they require. And then we also have our own IPs. So right now in the business, I'm handling mostly our corporate side and productions for others, and Fabian is handling our IPs, where we produce our own cartoons, we produce our own movies, and I think that's a part of the business which is going to grow quite a lot in the future.
Beautiful.
In a nutshell, that's about it. But what I wanted to add also to what you asked in the beginning, right? How did you even come together to start the business? And it's interesting that we never had to find a compromise, let's put it that way, with Fabian, because a lot of times common misconception about negotiations and two different backgrounds coming together is that you have to take one and then you have to take another, and then you have to cut a little bit here, cut a little bit there, and then how you make something in between, right? But for us, it was always like a puzzle. There was one person on one side with one vision, and then another person on another side with another vision, and that's how we came together. So starting from 2014, where I was a person who just dreamt about having business, I was like, I don't know what business, how, what, and then there was Fabian who was so immersed in entertainment, and then I also happened to come with a bit of an entertainment background as well, so that's how that happened. And even our current vision, we also just merged two lines together, where I was talking about beautiful new worlds and how we're going to create them, and then Fabian was like, no, I want to touch people's hearts. Like, okay, that's a good vision to go with.
But it's very powerful from both sides, creating new worlds, touching people's hearts. It's all very, dreamy, aspirational. Do you think if one of you had the idea of being a millionaire or billionaire, would that make a big difference then?
I feel the question is for me.
Because I remember our discussion. So we were involved in the brand strategy workshop together, where we've discussed visions and the guy's vision and mission and so on. And there was a discussion about the money and how Fabian wants to be a millionaire. But really you didn't, you want, but you're more than...
What's it, a billionaire?
Sorry. Sorry, that was the wrong question right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are literally, two sides of the coin. Because if you think about it, if you don't have one side of the coin, it's not a coin, right? So we complement each other. And I think the coolest thing is it wasn't planned, because I think if I had to look for a partner that would match me, and Elena had to look for a partner that would match, I think it would never have happened. I just see this as like a God ordained kind of thing. I don't
divine
think,
connection.
Yeah, it's like a divine connection. I don't think, it's just it could just happen like that. Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing that a lot of times in our life, even if somebody listens to that podcast right now and they will say like, oh, but divine connection doesn't happen for me, right? Or like I never met anyone like that. But a lot of times we're just too close not to notice. Like what Fabian said in the beginning, right? He just joined, he didn't know anything about me, but he spotted something and he just came and spoke. And same way also, I had to reciprocate, right? I had to come and say, oh, how about I just check it out? I don't know what it is, right? So a lot of times there are opportunities around us in this world, and we just need to be really open, I would say, right? So because a lot of times we're so swamped thinking with those millions of thoughts in our own mind, like, oh, I want this business, I want that business, this strategy, that strategy, right? But you just need to let it all go and see what's happening around you. Because same way we in our business, originally, we started creating our own events, started thinking like, oh, we want to do this concert, we want to do something like that person, like this person. And now what we're doing is we're gathering that team of co-creators around us. So we are just becoming that great platform, so to speak, where we surround ourselves with the most talented people of this world, and we're creating something beautiful together. And every time it's something new, and every project is something new. And that's I think that's the beauty of this world. That's how the world was created, and that's how we're creating those small worlds every day, every project. So
you sound very, very romantic and kind. So your business is all relationship, right? Relationship
Absolutely.
with client,
Yeah,
relationship with artist, relationship between you together as business partner and friends. Now, so it all sounds really beautiful. From my own experience, it's great when there's a lot of clients, a lot of money, the time is great, everyone is celebrating. Now, when we're going to difficult times, where I think my relationship with my ex-business partner, I don't want to say the word failed, but it was the second crisis we were going through, couldn't sustain it, right? That's where I lost. It was exactly 10 years when we lost office and partner and everything. Now, during that time, how do you go about that? That time, 2020, 2021, very difficult. What was your relationship then like?
So for us, it's quite interesting because the bad times actually bring us together.
Oh.
It's normally in the good times we were like, hey, you know what, I'm not going to show up to work today. I just want to play guitar at home. Or she's like, I want to go do some yoga. But when bad times come, we are there 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. We're like, how do we get out of this? You know, so I think I don't like the bad times, but the good thing that comes out of us is it makes us stronger. Right?
Yeah, no, it's actually so true, because in that way, I feel it's rather the test of wealth, rather the test of bad times, because I can see how when everything is going well, suddenly you can become too egotistic, thinking like, I know everything, like, why do I need any advice? Why do I need a partner? I can do everything by myself. But it's only when hard times crash, that's when you suddenly feel that you would love to have someone to lay on, right? You would love to have someone who would come and say, hey, you know, it's not just you, it's me also, so we're going through this together. And I know that for me, for sure, that was always one of the strongest points. I always knew that I have to carry on, not just for myself. Because for myself, I can give up at any time, but I have someone else who took that same sort of responsibility, so I have to carry on.
Do you feel it's the type of mindset you have, that you're both maybe that kind of, you know, going forward and positive optimism? Do you think that's...
and I think we also discovered that in each other as we grew as people and as a company, because we just thought initially, we are friends, we can get through anything. But we didn't see, that we were so different and so similar at the same time. Right. And I think it's the bad times that brings it to the surface.
Did you have time when you wanted to stop the whole break the business, Tell us about that.
That would be me.
Yeah, okay, please. Because it's too good to be true.
Yes. So when how did we start the company, right? So when I left my previous employment, I was given a big fat check. So started the company with that, And then in due time, so as a new company, so we were guys who we started the company, we got a license and then said, now let's look for business. So we went months without any business.
You got the license, then you started.
Exactly.
That's very brave.
Yeah. Yes, we got a license. We agreed on our titles, responsibilities. She was still working. I was, going to the gym every day. So now, when it came time to renew our license and stuff, we realized the business we had could not sustain it. And there was one particular morning when I woke up and I saw that my phone bill was cut. And I knew that my Diva bill is coming up in a few days. And so I called Elena, I said, I need to talk to you. And she was like, yeah, okay. And I think she could not read my tone through the call. So I meet her, she's all happy, her usual happy and joyful, shiny self. And I was like, hey, I think we need to close the company. And she's like, what do you mean? I told her.
Yeah.
So I was like, we got this bill coming up. I was like, we got those bills coming up. We got rents coming up. I told her, with that exaggeration, we need to go back to work. We'll still be friends. We'll still try to continue the company. We'll try, but we need to go back to work if we need to survive. And I think that was the best pep talk that she gave me. So even though I was the one who started the company, but she saved it, because if she had to agree with me that day, we wouldn't be sitting here. Right. So she gave me the exact words that I told her. She was like, no, we can do it. Let's just, believe in ourselves. Let's just trust God and let's go ahead and do it. And I don't know how, but we paid all those bills, right? I mean, we had bills coming up in days. I don't know what happened. I think business came in, we paid all those bills. And wow. we did. I still remember that day. I get shivers whenever when I recall that 5 a.m. in the morning.
How did you feel that time when you've heard, that's it? To be honest, that particular time, it was quite shocking because, I guess for me, I always, how to say, it's like, if you look at the stories of all successful people, right? If you read all the biographies of Richard Branson, I don't know, you name it, whoever you want to say, you realize that all of them were like bankrupt 3 times. I don't know, they almost got in jail. From poor
families, usually.
Yeah, from poor families, got tons of loans from banks. Yeah. Everyone is chasing them, firing employees, hiring employees, closing businesses, I don't know, whatever, right? So the story, we see it as like, oh, that guy's a billionaire. But then you don't realize that it took him 20 years of like heavy challenges. So when I look at those challenges which come, I always think like, no, it's normal, right? It's like we're a business, right? So it's like normal, you have those challenges. And I guess that time I was like, yeah, okay, we don't have funds for tomorrow, but we're still okay. And it was just shocking, yes, of course, to hear it from Fabian, but I guess, again, that's where two of our different sides of the coin come in, because there were other times where I was super down and I didn't know that I can carry on, and it may not have been particularly because of the finance, right? Because also each of us is triggered by certain things, right? Imagine if we were triggered by the same things, we were completely the same, but we're triggered by different things, hence we can support each other when the other one is triggered. So yeah, I think we could go through.
What about did you split your responsibilities from the beginning? Because from my experience, when we started business together, I was so happy about the whole idea of building brands, and it was just fireworks, right? And then I felt like we tend to do the same thing together. So whenever, to the point that really, honestly, same thing together. I now only 10 years, 12 years after I realized I was the wrong, but it's always easy to think after 12 years.
I think we realized that 5 years in, maybe 4 years into the company.
So was it the same at the beginning? You're so excited. We do everything together.
Exactly. We were doing exactly the same thing, and we used to kind of fight because of that, you know. And then I think it could have been 4 years into the company where, again, one day I think I wanted to end those fights, and I was like, hey, how about we, start to split it, So yes, we do make the calls together, but you take care of this part and I take care of this part. And since then, I think we started to see the improvement.
Yeah. I guess that's probably that tiny line between friendship and business, right? Because on one side, you as a happy person was like, oh, okay, it's so cool. Let's discuss it. Let's do it together, right? But if you put the business hat on, you realize, for one, it's simply not practical, because you have two super wise and smart people who've been receiving this super high salaries before, and now they started business. It's not wise, both of them, to do the same thing, right? So it's like you're wasting company resources.
Yeah.
So it's like rather split it and rather put all the effort there. But it wasn't that obvious. In that way, you're right. We were very cowboyish when we started our company, not knowing anything about the business. Our first contract we've got, we literally had to do this, like, how much money do we ask for this? We had no clue, absolutely no clue. But I think that's also was our advantage. And even up till date, still stays, because every year our business evolves quite a lot, and we're going into some new direction which we haven't done before, and we bring fresh outlook in that area. Because if we had an experience, like how many people they quit business in particular area, and then they start business in that same area, so they have knowledge, but then there is no innovation happening in that sense. But for us, it's every time some sort of innovation which we bring in the industry, and I guess that's why we succeeded quite a lot.
So
Not
is that
being cowboyish.
evolution, right? You went through as a business also 9 years in business, right? It's a quite a long period of time. Usually companies fail, they say, after 3 years or something.
That's,
So 9 years, it's like a long business marriage.
I do agree. It is 9 years seems quite a long time. But we were constantly, what's the word?
Evolving.
We were constantly evolving. So what we started off with, even 2 years into the company, and what we're doing since the last 3 years has been total, evolution. And we are actually a very different company now from the original idea that we started with. So I would say technically we are like a three-year-old company.
It's a new beginning you have.
But it's such interesting, because I always used to in the beginning look at us as failures in that sense, right? Because we
failures
in a way that we come from backgrounds where our parents used to work in the same industry, in the same line of business or job for their entire life. So when you speak also to your relatives and tell them like, oh, this year we're doing this, and then next year they ask you, how is your business going? And you're like, oh, we're in this area right now, we're in that area right now, and they look at you quite giving you all those looks, so you feel yourself like a failure at a certain time. But then you realize, again, that that's the story of every successful business nowadays, that even if you're on top right now, you have to keep innovating, because if you don't, then you're just going to be behind in the next second, literally. So in that way, right now, I look at our journey as a whole, holistic brand, which was always evolving in the same industry. We've, not to say tried many areas, but we've developed every area as we went along. And now our expertise contains all those small areas we've tried before. And that's what also brings our expertise, and that's how we stand out.
And my problem was, I think, because we were friends, and I want to go back to that first question, actually. Because we were friends, so innovation, wealth was not a problem. I don't think we've ever achieved that amount that I guess that we did never achieve that yet. Wealth was not a problem, responsibilities were no problem. I think it was maybe a different outlook on what the future is, not in terms of what agents should be, but approach to one had more realistic, the other one had more optimistic, we call it. So it's a different mindset. But what I've noticed that when we had into the arguments, and more as time goes, we had a lot of arguments at the end. Because we were friends, we let each other say really sometimes not bad, but hurtful things, because we were friends. When in professional environments, you don't allow yourself to. Did you go that? Did you have that? Or you're very... you have good borders when to stop.
We're very open with each other. Yes, we do respect each other. So we never set any rules on how far we go. But I think it's just a mutual respect for each other that we.
So you've never slammed the door?
I may have cut the phone. I probably cut the phone.
You broke the phone, at least.
No,
yes.
I probably just.
Some drama, too good.
Yeah. No, actually, I'm really trying to think right now. Yeah, because on one hand, we are quite open, but I would say. Maybe that's where our personalities come, because we're in terms of the personalities, that's what's similar for both of us. We are not that like those drama people who break plates. We'd rather, I would say, stop talking for a week or something like that.
Oh, you could stop talking for a week?
I mean, not for a week, maybe.
But there's times where you just clash, and for me, I come from the school that if you're going to clash, sometimes you just need to go and do something that you like, and then something happens and you come back and you say, hey, okay, I did make a bad call, I'm sorry. And most of the time it's Elena who's apologizing, but I'm kidding.
Finally, we have the secret sauce. Watch, always apologize.
I'm just kidding. We do
the secret sauce that you finally got. You saw his sarcastic side. That's where I just swallow it and keep my face flat.
Yeah. So I think we are very open in the sense that, if I make a mistake, okay, if I sleep over it the next morning, I would message as soon as I wake up saying, hey, I'm sorry, I know, I shouldn't have said that. And in reverse, when Elena, she does the same thing. So sometimes you're like, okay, it's been 24 hours, you should have apologized by now.
But actually, what I realized, coming back to that question which you originally asked, you said about the vision. So I forgot, there was one historian or philosopher of the old days who said that it's almost like, if I paraphrase it, that you can be so different in so many things, but then you're united in the main things. And I think that's what's been true for us all along. Because what you said about business growing in different directions, different views. So what we realized that no matter where we are, good times or bad times, we always talk about that crazy big vision, which is, 15 years from now, 50 years from now. So that's always been the same. Not in a way that's vision, but because even vision progressed, but as that we always have sort of same aspirations of where we are going. And then, yes, even though that in the interim you can have completely different understanding of what needs to be done, or you can be two different people, but that vision of us going in that beautiful new world, sorry to repeat that, but it's so true. And I think that's what keeps us together. And that's why even in those times when, and in fact, we come from completely different backgrounds. It's not just the obvious things which you see down here, but it's also
You're both blonde.
That's new. That's fresh. That's
since the last few months.
Since the last few months, you got blonde. Before that, we had blue or red hair. But yeah, like because in a way that we learned a lot from each other. We've developed a lot. We progressed a lot because I come from the school of constant deadlines and rushing somewhere, and Fabian comes from the school of okay, relax, it's gonna come, we will do it. I'm now in my creative mode, or I don't know, whatever. So I've become much more relaxed. He also probably learned something from me, and I think the interesting part for me, the most amazing part about our friendship or partnership rather, is that if you look at us 10 years ago, the people we were, the business we were running, it was completely two different people and different business. And it's amazing how, how also they say for couples, the young couples who marry young, they tend to break up later just because personalities change through the life. Because you fall in love with someone at 18, and then by the age you're 28, you're a completely different person.
Yeah.
So, and the chances are that that person you married also kind of compliments you right now, is also happy to be with you. It's very little. And for us, this is the miracle, I think, because both of us have changed a lot, a lot. I don't know where even to start. The podcast wouldn't be enough. And we still kept on being complementary to each other through our changes. So it's literally like that Swiss watch mechanism, right? Which where every part is complementary to each other, and the watch keeps on moving, and the parts keeps on moving and changing. So that's yeah.
And that's the thing, probably, if I were to bring to my partnership. The reason I always bring that, because that topic, I think, is still fresh. Sometimes I think it's gone, but then it comes back to me.
Comes back to haunt you.
Yeah, it's still on. And yeah, I think maybe that also was one of the reasons, right? 10 years, big evolution, and completely split. I love what you said. You could be so different, but as long as you look into the same direction, you can go through everything together. Yeah. And I think there is no book, any motivational book or business book really that could help to create a real beautiful partnerships, right?
Sure.
It's your own story that can only, your own experience that can only teach you how to create that relationship.
Yeah.
I want to ask you these 3 questions that I always ask at my podcast. I usually ask it in the sense of how to be a successful entrepreneur. Here I want to rephrase it a little bit. What do you need to do regularly, very often, to have a strong business relationship, business partnership? First question. Second question, what you should stay away from to keep strong business relationship? And the third thing is what you should be, you shouldn't be afraid of. So regular, do often, stay away from, and don't be afraid of. Who wants to start?
I think, I mean, I can only talk on our behalf. Right?
On your behalf.
Yeah, on
please.
our behalf. So for us, I would say the success comes from, one is respecting each other, being open. So, if Elena has a concern, she would come up to me and say, let's say, for example, I think we should not do that project, and I respect it, because if I'm going to go ahead and with that project, I know that I've hurt my partner, and it's vice versa. If, it can happen either way. So I think if just looking at for us, I would say respect, trust, being open with each other. That's been, I'll say, the success.
True.
That is, yeah. So far, I mean, I'm sure maybe a year from now we'll have some more wisdom to share here.
Elena, what about you? So it's
no, I completely agree. Yeah, because interesting what Fabian said about respect, and also not going overhead of someone. If you want, I will rephrase it. I will say it's like keeping yourself in check, because both of us are highly opinionated people, super highly opinionated people. It's we both believe that we know the best, but somehow that's been always a rule for us. If another person is not happy, we're not going with it. And I don't know how, but even though it's super painful at times, it's really painful when your thing is not put forward. But what we're still learning is also how to communicate to another person your own feelings, how to explain where to push with your idea, where not to push with your idea. But at the end of the day, it's a tiny balance between the relationship and the business benefit. because sometimes you believe that it's a business benefit to go on with the idea. So sometimes you just need to, and that's another thing about like those do's and don'ts. Like what I learned recently is just like I should not pursue it on spot. I should just step back for a while and then let Fabian think and then come back, I don't know, after a few days. So most often he will just come back and say like, oh yeah, you actually were right.
So that's the secret sauce. One always apologizes, the other one says you're right. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
What about stay away from? What should we stay away from?
So one thing that we agreed, I think one of the only things that we spoke about was we said we will never, discuss each other with another person. Like, and we will not, even if someone's going to say something bad about the other person, we will not even give them like a second.
You protect each other.
Yeah. So we will not, and we said we will never have like a third partner in the company. It's going to be both of us from start to end. And for me, I think that's, that's something that is quite successful because that, and the second thing was, I'll say, we said we will not dwell on negative things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, actually that it was, because I think being a writer and stuff like that, I like to, sometimes the negativity brings out my writing and my art.
You need it.
Yeah, so
drama.
I need it. But Elena can only take so much. So many times she's like, no, don't say so negative. I'm like, but that's where my art comes from.
You're from the pain and struggle.
Exactly, pain and depression.
I would never think that you're every time I see you, you're very positive. Or maybe I don't see you enough.
No, you're just not me. I think, because no one else apart from me says his negative sides.
So, Elena, what about you? What staying away from?
I was trying to think what's my answer, but I will pick on what Fabian said in the previous one, which is actually, I think, my thing, in a way that don't clog things up. Because a lot of times people think like, okay, to keep the relationship or just for the sake of business, let me just shut my mouth and go, right? And then what happens, you just keep on picking that garbage in your own pockets and you stuck them somewhere and then you just like, after a while, you sink. So what happens, you have to clean up from time to time. So whenever the issue is there, it doesn't mean that you have to discuss it on spot and argue right there, but it has to be discussed within some sort of short period of time, because that's the only way how you keep the real authenticity of the relationship. Otherwise, we'll be sitting here 10 years. He is with his own, bag of emotions towards me. I will be sitting with my own bag of emotions towards him. But I think that's what I naturally cannot stand, as Fabian said. I just cannot stand negativity. That's why I always insist on discussing things. Yeah.
So I guess then the third answer, staying to not to be afraid of. What would be not to be afraid of?
When we started the company, I can't show it to you, but we both we have tattoos on our, like I've got a tattoo down here. And
you
it
have
says,
both tattoos?
Yeah, and we say it's fear not. So
it's actually very cool. You remembered about it.
You both of you got the tattoos when you're like, that's a real business marriage.
So it's a Bible verse that says, fear not, that God is with you. And because when we started the company, getting a regular salary to now having to make it happen. So whenever we were nervous, she has it in a place where she can't see it. So I would always look at my tattoo. And I think, that if that's something I could tell people, I would say, fear
Get
not.
a tattoo. Do you have that tattoo? Show me.
Yeah, but it's on the back. It's here.
Right.
Yeah,
wow.
So
because she didn't want to see it every day. Because I was like, no, I need to see it every day. She said, like, no, I need a tattoo where I don't want to see it every day.
So powerful.
Yeah. So I think in general, just don't fear.
Don't have fear. Though sometimes it comes right in your blood and everywhere under your skin.
Yeah. Like fear, fear tries to attack us every minute of the day, right? Be it whatever, if you're a student, you're a housewife, a business person, an athlete. So I think that is actually, it's more a life lesson for us, Fear not.
Guys, I want to thank you very much. I mean, it's one of the most enjoyable episodes, though I love all my episodes and all my guests. I think it's because
kind
of
of
that
your favorites.
One of the very, very sensitive for me and a great episode I've had. I would like to put your video of your company, Breakthrough, that you've recently done, because it's also about people, relationship, and how every person in the project is important for the success of the project. No matter who that person is, the cleaner or the artist or the client. And I would like to put it, if you don't mind, as
Sure.
part of this episode at the end so people can enjoy it also. And I want to also, I think, dedicate this episode to my ex-business partner, because I miss our great time together and how we went through some time together. Though I'm very thankful to what happened also, because if I didn't have that breakup in my business, then I could never be as strong as I am today. I could never imagine to have this podcast also. So it's still fresh there when I go into this whole thing, but I'm happy where I am here, and I'm happy where I am, and I'm really looking forward in my other businesses have a great relationship with the partners, because I truly believe it's through this partnership, togetherness, we can really create a better world, better company, and become billionaires. I'm okay with millionaire. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Oh.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh God, you made me cry and laugh, and it was so good. You're ideal. You're real.
One act of kindness. One stride of respect. One word of empowerment. One deed of trust. One feat of bravery. One moment of inspiration. One ounce of magic. Creating a beautiful new world by touching people's hearts. Breakthrough exclusive. We are one.